Hello, everyone. My name is Pedja Jovanovic, and I'm ICF Master Certified Coach and also ICF Registered Mentor. Today, I will share with you one session that fully met ICF criteria, and our colleague, Bojana, performed it for her oral assessment. So it's really nice example of a well-delivered session that fully met all the criteria. So I will share my screen with you and share the session, and we will immediately go into analysis.
Bye. Well, hi again, Claire.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. So just to check with you, how are you today?
Yeah, really good, thank you. I've had a nice week actually, and it's Friday, so yeah, it's a good day.
And I'm noticing the smile, so great to hear that. Well, as Pedja already mentioned, so this is my oral assessment, and we have about 30 minutes together. So what is something you would like to explore today?
Okay, so in general, very nice opening, checking with client, how is she today, what is she bringing, and opening a session in a very open way. What is something that you would like to explore today? In general, it's a good idea to give our clients space to bring something, whatever it is. We don't put focus on something that is really positive or something that is negative. So the question is really open, and client will choose the direction where she would like to go and what is it that she brings into session.
So I'd like to consider about living a healthier lifestyle. So healthy me.
So living a healthier lifestyle. So I'm just wondering, when you think about that healthier lifestyle in the future, so how would that look like for you?
Well, I mean, as you know,
Okay. So it's really interesting how much content do we need in order to perform and in order to really get into the session. Not a lot. As client said, like a healthier lifestyle, coach immediately invited her to move into the future and share a little bit about what she would like to observe through time as a healthier lifestyle. It's quite different. It's a different approach than tell me what a healthy lifestyle means for you, because then the client usually goes back in past and brings some details from the current experience. So this is really nice way to move clients' attention in future.
I'm a keen runner, and that's been going quite well. But it's making sure that I'm consistently exercising, because life gets in the way and it gets bumped out. So I guess in the future, it would be that it's a consistent part of my life, not something that I have to think about planning in, that it's something that I naturally turn to do. But exercise is probably only one part of it. So I guess it's much more about a work-life balance as well. Yeah, and just being fit and active in the future.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you would have some kind of consistent exercising and the work-life balance. So I'm just wondering, so if you would have that in the future, so what would be the main benefit of that to you?
Mm-hmm. A really nice question. Different variation of this question is, why would this be important for yourself? So my suggestion is that try to explore the value behind whatever client wants to achieve from the future perspective. It's way easier to explore it and to help client to really reconnect to what's truly important. So like this is the focus on what is the value behind and what would be the benefits for our client.
it's not wanting to be morbid, but it is kind of all related to sort of my own mortality and wanting to be around in the future. So wanting to be around for my children, and then hopefully they will have children. So for my grandchildren, and being fit and active for them. So it's that longevity. It's the longevity of it, really. So I would be fit and active for my family and the family that I haven't yet got.
So if you would have that longevity, so
what is interesting here that actually client goes really high in the structure of logical level. So like she's exploring the work-life balance and consistent exercise is actually related to her life as whole. So it's way more deeper than it looks like on the first sight.
what would that give you personally?
What would that give me? That would give me happiness, just because I'd be able to spend time with my family and still be active and enjoy time with them, rather than, you know, huffing and puffing up a flight of stairs or not being able to play football with the grandchildren. So it would give me happiness, and freedom to enjoy my life.
So, and I'm also curious, so with that happiness and freedom to enjoy your life in the future, so how would that impact your life in general?
Okay, so coach is continuing to invite client to explore life as whole and the impacts on life. In general, this brings internal motivation and actually relaxes clients so that client can, in the next stage, be more open for cognitive analysis of whatever she wants to achieve in this particular session.
So we've talked about happiness before kind of being one of my values, really, and freedom. So it's about being able to live in accordance with my values. So it would give me the opportunities to travel and to live that full and active life. Yeah, so travel's a big part of that. Time with family, time with friends. It would enable all of those things.
So you mentioned actually that you would live accordance to your values. So I'm curious, what would be that values?
So I've had
okay. Although a client already mentioned happiness and freedom as something that is important for her, coach is asking her to actually confirm it or add some other values if there are some others. So I mean, it's still good place to be at the very beginning of coaching session.
Happiness and freedom is a big one of mine. Excitement. I've got the word fulfillment coming up as well.
Okay, so I'm noticing actually this is the second time you mentioned happiness and freedom. So what's that telling you?
Okay.
They're really important.
Okay. There is when you notice the pattern that is happening when the client is repeating some things, one of the indicators of direct communication is putting in front of a client what you notice. In this case, coach refers to these two value words: freedom and happiness.
Yeah, that I guess that's the ultimate goal, isn't it, for me?
So what would be some ultimate goal for you when you look even farther in the future? So with that.
Really nice. So what coach is doing right now is inviting client to go even further in future. Again, one of the ways to build internal motivation around the topic that client would like to work on.
Happiness and freedom.
That links to the more work-life balance life that I would like to have. So, you know, my job at the moment as a head teacher is really busy, and so in future I'd like a more kind of composite type career. So yeah, so bigger picture, that happiness and that freedom is about, well, doing my coaching work, and which you can do from anywhere now, can't you? So being able to do that and travel, which goes in with the travel side of things. Yeah, so not tied down to one place.
Okay, so let's just put all together to see what we have so far. So you talked about living a healthier lifestyle, and you also mentioned consistent exercising and work-life balance that you mentioned at least 2 times. You talked about your own mortality, you talked about happiness and freedom and traveling and live active life and be there for your family. You also mentioned the excitement, fulfillment. So what's becoming clear for you when you hear all this?
So what you can notice here is not paraphrasing, but backtracking. Coaches putting in front of the client all these value words and words that bring emotional tension. I mean, in this case, positive tension in front of her. And then comes with very open question, what is opening for you with having all these words in front of you. So really, like coaches continue to invite client to open even further and explore possibilities and options for her.
So the living a healthier lifestyle it's just kind of pathway to achieving all of those bigger picture things that I want for myself, and seeing it as it's the enabler, it's the thing that is kind of going to allow all of those things to happen in the future. Because if you haven't got your physical and mental health, then I'm not going to be in a position to be able to enjoy those things or do those things. So that future life won't be accessible to me unless I work on this now.
So when you have this awareness, so what do you want in future for yourself? So what is something that you would like to achieve today by the end of our session in the next 20 minutes?
So what you could observe here, that a client started with this healthier lifestyle, but then through expansion and exploration, client came back to the same place where client started. So again, she came back to healthier lifestyle. And you know, this expansion and exploration is really important, because sometimes through exploring future and expanding possibilities, client can choose something else. Or like in this case, client really confirms that what she wanted at the very beginning is something that is really the most important right now. And after this expansion and exploration, coach goes for the contract of this session. So in total, I will just check. It is 9 minutes of exploration. And after this 9 minutes, coach is going for the contract. I mean, for session that lasts 33 or 4 or 5 minutes, I mean, it's really okay. So now we are going for the contract for this session.
To gain something valuable for yourself.
So I think I'm clear on, whilst it's not specific what the goal is in the future, I know that it's happiness and freedom and travel, but what I've just become aware of is dealing with what physical and mental health looks like now, and how I manage that and make that happen now is the thing that I need to sort out so that that future becomes a reality. So
so if I'm hearing you correctly, you would like to explore physical and mental health. You would like to work on now. So I'm just curious. So how will you know that you have that result at the end of our session?
Very nice. I mean, because what client brought is not specific. Well, it's not specific enough for the contract, and coach ask really like a very specific question to just clarify it. So how will you know? And again, it's my recommendation not to propose what that would mean from your perspective, but ask your client to clarify. And this question of how you will know is one of the good ways to get this clarification.
I'll have an understanding of where I'm at and actually where I want to get to on that front. It is about things to do, isn't it? It's about, because I've just kind of talked about the why, the reasons why I want to do it. So actually it's the how am I going to do it? What am I going to commit to?
And so if we support you by the end of the session to gain that steps, so how can you get to that physical and mental health? So would that be the best possible use of our time?
Yeah.
And I'm also curious, so when in the future you feel...
Okay. So coach asked, so like if this would be the best way, finding this how coach client confirm. What is possible is to go even more specific, to ask, okay, what specifically you would like to have in your hands? I mean, it's not necessary, but you know, like it might be sometimes good idea to really like put this how very specifically on the ground. What would you like to have? I mean, but also it's possible to continue like this. I mean, it's good enough to accept it as a contract.
Feel this could take place in your life.
As in putting in
very nice way to put some time frame. So what are the time frames that we are talking about? Is it like a months? Is it years, 6 years, tens of years? I don't know, like very open and nice way.
Into place what I'm going to do. There's no point putting it off, is there? So you may as well start straight away. Yeah, there's an immediacy to it, isn't there? There's looking after yourself's important. So actually it needs to go to the top of the list. You have to look after yourself before you can look after other people, don't you? So putting myself at the top of the list, Brianna. Yeah.
Putting yourself in the top of the list.
It's interesting that was a really specific question about time, but client went into different direction, which is again really important, but shows that the client has strengths on a higher levels of abstraction. So I would put something like this. We can continue to play with this list. we can continue to explore why would this be important and in what way putting yourself in the top of list is related to her long-term results, or like in what way putting herself on the top of the list might contribute to the contract that for this particular session in terms of how and making the action steps to move forward. I mean, there are many possibilities how to lead a coaching session from here, and different coaches will find their own way. So this is the moment where you should start like really to listen to your intuition and really like now it's not about science, it's about the art of coaching, where you just dance with your client.
Well, just imagine actually yourself in that future where you have that healthy lifestyle you want, and you have that physical and mental strength. So what would be some elements that you're recognizing that are going to tell you that you're definitely there?
Okay, so this is now as a client is showing, demonstrating strength on more abstract levels. Now, coach invites her to put her attention on the ground, on something that is observable, something that client can visually see, hear, auditory, or feel kinesthetically. So we would like to invite client to create the experience of success. So how you will experience that success. As for our brain, real life experience or internal experience, I mean, there is no big difference. Same parts of the brain are active.
I can see myself running around. So I've got the energy to run around. I'm wearing clothes that I like to wear, and I feel comfortable in it, and I still feel, so I'm picturing myself still in shorts into my 50s and 60s and not worried about that because I look okay.
So there are some details here.
And happy to do my my cold water, open water swimming that I've talked to you about before. So really happy to do that. And a sense of calm. So a sense of calm and contentment. I spend quite a lot of my time looking for the next best thing, because that's what my job is about. So it's all outward facing, and what you're going to do next, what you're going to do next. And because I live most of my day like that does end up being in my personal life as well. So actually in the future, I see myself as just a little bit more calm and present and happy in the moment, rather than thinking about what comes next.
Okay. Yeah, so you don't need to write all these things. This is just the experience of success. It's important for clients to get there, to experience this success, to relax this even further, and then later in a session to go back into to the contract of, because at the end of the day, the contract for this session is defining how to move forward. So currently, like, it's just the experience that client is going through, and then we can build some awareness about the values, going deeper into values. I mean, some basic values we already got at the very beginning, but we can continue to go even deeper, or maybe some different strategies or competencies, whatever it is related to this experience of success. But at the end of this session, we need to come back to this how, the specific outcome that the client wants to achieve within the next 20 minutes or so.
So, and I'm curious, so if you would have that energy and you wear that comfortable clothes, and you're happy to do your cold water swimming, and you're calm and present and happy. So when you look even in the long run, so what would be the main benefit of having this in your life?
Coach continues to put focus on future.
I genuinely think it is about the presence and the calm, actually. And contentment. It almost feels like being still. I think that's what's missing from my life at the moment. I'm never still.
So who would you become with that present and calmness and being still?
Happier. So happier, so less stressed, not stressed.
And more what?
And more what? Content, happy, present.
So, and I'm just wondering, so what is different about that Claire who is happier and content and present?
Really nice question. As this result leads to the future where there is more happiness and more presence, stillness, more content. So in what way this Claire here in future is different to, I don't know, the one today or the one in this time frame here? I mean, but it's nice way to invite client to notice the differences. So what it is about me that is different through time.
Do you know, even just talking about it, I just kind of got this feeling like in my inner core, in my stomach area, that just feels settled.
Mm-hmm.
So settled, future Claire is settled.
And what is becoming possible for future Claire who is settled?
It's about being in the moment. It is about being in the moment.
And when you are that person, so who is happier and content and present and settled, and who is in that moment, so what are you noticing about her physical and mental strength?
Okay. So being in a moment is a strategy that we can apply even today. Again, here we get some awareness about the strategies that are useful even today, and the coach continues to go into into further exploration of what it is that a client can notice in a physical appearance, so how the client looks through time when these qualities are there, and what is the difference in terms of way of thinking. Both very relevant.
Centered. Not worried about what other people think, just kind of living my life the way that I want to live it.
So, and what kind of life this settled Claire lives?
Again, we go up here into life, you know. We started from
and I mean, that is, there's just that is, I'm back to freedom. It's just that freedom to make choices and make choices that I want, rather than feeling I'm constrained by, I don't know, the different roles that I've got in my life, or feeling there's things that I have to do. So the freedom to make choices to do other things.
So
so
when you are,
so what you can notice here is how things are coming to its place. We started from life, and then with exploration, expansion, and further expansion, again, we are getting back to life. And then you can observe here and how through time life should transform. So we talk about life where I take freedom, I have freedom to take my own choices. Again, what we can also notice is the strength of the client to spend more energy and time on a higher level of abstraction. So maybe some specifics would be good to have here in terms of how exactly will you know and what specifically will be present, just to get some connection with the reality. I mean, also it can be done at the very end because client wanted to get how, and here in this area we can also go to specifics. But what we currently can observe is client strength, and also it's an indicator for us where we should put more focus through session, this one and maybe others as well.
making the choices. So what would be the strengths that support this, Claire, on that way?
Confidence.
She said some confidence.
Okay, making decisions and not overthinking. That's something that I do a lot of at the moment, and just making decisions and there's a phrase in a book that I read, and it's just around it's okay to make decisions, and you don't always have to know whether they're the right or the wrong decision. We waste a lot of time thinking about whether they're right or wrong, and actually they're just decisions. And then you make another one, and then you make another one, and so they're not right or wrong, they're just decisions.
So what's becoming possible when you are making those decisions?
That feels quite freeing, because then you're just accepting that there are decisions to be made, and if it doesn't work out the way that you thought it would, then you just make another decision to take it in another direction. Whereas at the moment in my life, I feel like I have to think through every possible permeation of the decision, every possible consequence of the decision before I can make the decision. So future me would be free from that.
So what you could, what client is getting here are some key qualities that are needed in order to move forward, and these qualities then we can relate to present moment. So it's a decision making, confidence, and acceptance.
So when you are that future you, so on what kind of directions you could go?
Okay, so coach continues to explore future. I mean, and this is really nice way to put clients' attention in the middle part of a session, because at the end of the day, it's really clear what client wants to get at the end of this session. So the most important thing is just to remember that at one point you need to go back to initial contract. So it wouldn't be a good idea to continue with expansion and exploration and just forget about initial contract. The contract is the how. plan, how to move forward. And you see, like how we started, like from the very beginning, from healthier lifestyle, moving to balanced life, moving to more presence, stillness, being settled, having the freedom to make my own choices, and now moving even further. I mean, very nice way for expansion and exploration.
I think the possibilities would be endless.
So endless possibilities.
Yeah.
Okay. So just suppose actually that you can meet that future version of yourself. So who is happier and content and present and settled, and she's in the moment and she has that confidence making decisions. So I'm wondering what would be some wisdom that this Claire can transfer to you, Claire, in the present?
Nice way. I mean, let's take the advice from future me. So from here, going back to present moment.
About having that mental and physical strength.
So so she's saying that you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a future thing. You can actually start doing that now. Yeah, you could take steps to do that now, just by accepting that decisions are just decisions.
Like, it's really nice way when we get this clarity for ourselves. I mean, maybe, you know, like that's the power of coaching. If you would go to someone and ask for advice in this situation, you might get the advice from a friend or from a mentor, like just do it. But, you know, like it's a completely different when you expand and explore and connect to future, connect to yourself, that it's still just a, you know, like it's 20 minutes long discussion. So it's nothing, it's not a big discussion. And after these 20 minutes, you commit yourself to act, to move. So really, you know, like somehow everything comes to its place. The client wanted to get a how and some action steps, and then she brings back to a present moment advice to start doing things, to start moving. So very, very nice session so far.
That's actually quite freeing, and you could do that now. What else would future me say? To look for opportunities now where I can feel settled and centered, and actually future me is telling me that I just need to practice it, so that future me saying that you know it, but you just need to practice it, and then it will become a habit, and then it will become a thing, and then it will become the way that you are.
And if you look even farther in the future, and you can, let's say, meet yourself when you're 90 years old, so what would that Claire tell you as a key message to have this?
Okay, so like maybe for my sensibility, like I would go into specifics now. I mean, as a client she's really open to explore future, to get this wisdom from herself, but again, time is limited now. We are in 22nd minute of a session, and maybe for it would be good idea to really go into specifics now. So what specifically would you like to get? What specifically would you like to achieve within next, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, just to put things on the ground?
She so cried 90-year-old Claire. So 90-year-old Claire is sat there in her old people's home, and she's just got a smile on her face because of the way she's lived her life. She's managed to experience loads of things and has had a really happy life, and has so many stories to tell.
So what would be the key message from that stories for you?
The sooner you make the change to live your life in that way, the more stories you're going to have by the time you're 90.
Okay, Claire. So our time is really running quickly. So shall we put all this together to see what we have so far? So we talked about some elements that you're recognizing that you are living that healthy life. And you mentioned the energy, the comfortable clothes, cold water swimming, being calm and present and happy. You also talked about being still and happier and settled and being in the moment. You also talked about yourself as making choices and making decisions. And we a little bit travel into the future. So some of advices that future Claire would tell you would be start doing that now, look for opportunities now, need to practicing, it will become a habit. And
so what I would do here, I mean, this again backtracking. What I would do, I would put in front of her this now. She repeated now like 3 times in the row, like as Boana did previously. I would say something like, look, what I can notice is that you just in each of these advices there was a word now 3 times in a row. So what does this tells you, or how this resonates with you, on in what way this is related to the contract of our session, because it's a pattern.
We also traveled a little bit far into the future and meet 90-year-old Claire, who told you to sooner you make change, more stories you will have. So I just want to check with you, are we on the track with the outcome you wanted for this session?
Yeah, it's put
so this question, are we on the track, is an indicator of partnering with your client, or checking where a client wants to go and if this is right direction for her. I mean, nice question that every once in a while you bring in your coaching.
Yeah, it's given that kind of bigger picture, sort of what a healthier lifestyle will actually mean. And actually, I started off kind of thinking I need that to lead that life consistently. And so to think about what ultimately it would be like and what it will give me gives the motivation to do it now.
So considering our work today, so what will you do with this perspective?
And now we are going for the contract. And again, this is a nice example and the answer to many questions that coaches at the beginning of their coaching career ask. So how, after expansion and exploration, to go back to specific contract? I mean, like all these things that were happening right so far was actually building the right momentum for asking this specific question. So it was about creating the awareness. It was about exploration. It's about connecting, helping client to connect to her inner wisdom. And now it's really like in what Boana is doing right now, it's in a very nice way. So with all this experience, with all these ideas and advices you got from your future you, so how you would like to move forward? I mean, that was the contract, how to move forward. And now she's going back to the specific things. So like, what will you do today, or what might be the action steps, and what might be the plan? And this is what I said at the very beginning. If contract would be more specific, then we could go with a more specific question, but still it's specific enough to have it as a contract.
As a specific action steps.
So taking time, making time for those present moments and to feel centered. Allowing myself,
I would ask her what is the difference between taking time and making time, because it might go into very more specific things, but it's okay.
Myself to do that, allowing myself to I fill every second of my day with stuff, so allowing myself not to do that. It's okay to sit or walk, and you don't have to be doing something within that.
So you mentioned making a time for present moments and allowing yourself to do that. So what else could be possible action steps?
Okay. What is important to notice is that these are not action steps; these are strategies. So, like, I would go here into more specific things. So, what specifically will you do? How specifically you will make this time, and how specifically you will make we will allow yourself. What will happen in a real life, in next week, in today, tomorrow? Like, I would really go more specific, because this is the area of strength of your client, these abstractions. And with going into specifics, this might help client to really get some tangible things. These are just concepts.
I think it would be useful to linking that with the idea of freedom and travel as well, and that would actually keep me motivated to keep doing it. So rather than saying, well, I'm just going to make time to go for a walk, actually think about where I'm going to go that would be different and interesting and keep me motivated to do that. So different places to go and have that time, have that presence.
Again, it's a very abstract answer. So here I would go again. And what specifically would you do? How you will make this link between freedom and happiness? So what will happen in the real world? Okay, so for some reason,
I did that.
Okay, let's see.
It would definitely be cold in March, but that's okay.
Okay, so I'm curious, so when will you start to implement these actions? So making time for present moments. So when can you start to implement that?
Okay, going back to a really short-term future. So designing action steps.
Well, it's Friday today, and I haven't really got any plans this weekend. So I'm going to look at that. And I feel like I'd like to make contact with.
So maybe I would go here with a little bit of challenge in terms of, okay, so you say that you would do it because you didn't have any plans. So what would you do? What would happen if you would have plans? So how to continue with making time even when things are already planned? Because like sometimes this might be an obstacle for action, and I would like to challenge that thing and to make sure that client will really do it.
Friend as well, and see if we could go for a walk. That would be nice.
Okay, so make contact with a friend. So what
Yeah.
about allowing yourself to do that? So how will you allow yourself to do that?
Actually, there's one of my friends, and she contacted and had suggested we go for lunch on Sunday. So, and I haven't responded yet. Well, I did. I responded and said, yeah, that would be nice, but we haven't made any arrangements. So actually, I could just message her and say, why don't we go for a walk and do lunch?
What I would do here, I would, like one of the things from the ICF perspective is championing your client. So maximizing the effect of action steps. Somehow these action steps are something that was already there. So I would ask something like, okay, well, besides that, what specifically you can do in order to really move things forward, in really, as she was saying here, to start doing it, to do it now, to look forward for the opportunities, to look for opportunities now. So what are the opportunities that are in front of you? So what specifically you can do about it? So I will insist of this now, as that was the key message from Future Self for our client.
And what about this freedom and traveling and explore some different places? So when can you do that?
So the first thing I need to do is actually, and I've been putting this off for some weeks now, but my children need passports. So I'm going to make them get their photographs done tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to make them get their, so I'm going to get their passport applications done, because I'd wanted to book a holiday to Italy actually in May, and it looks like the world might allow that now. So if I get their passports sorted, then I can think about that. So perhaps that would be really nice to do tonight, actually, just to sit down with the kids and just look at the route that we were thinking of again, because we've not looked at it for ages, and get them excited about it and me excited about it. That'd be good. That'd be a nice way to spend.
Yeah, and these are all concepts. This is something that will happen through time. And like what is missing here is this like a short-term action and a really movement in a present moment. So I would invite her to really define something specific as soon as possible, today, tomorrow, like how, and really this maximizing it, including other people, like we had a very nice session in terms of expansion and exploration, like light energy, lots of brainstorming, and more movement, more energy of shifting things forward would be needed at the very end. Like last couple of minutes would just maximize the effect of this nice session.
Friday evening.
And I'm noticing the change in your tone and energy.
Yeah, no, that's exciting.
And what about this looking for a cold water swimming?
I need to think about somewhere to go when I'm going to do that. I mean, I am going away at Easter, so that would involve going in the sea. But that's somewhere I've been before. I want to go somewhere else. So I need to look up.
You see, there is all these things now when it comes to action is I will do it. I need the one thing and I need the other thing. So really this is the big space for support. Like a movement should happen right now, like for this client, as she's really strong on a higher level of abstraction, exploring future, exploring herself, understanding her self-awareness around values, but the movement is missing. So even now when we talk about movement, everything is conditional. We're like, if I get that, I will get this. And as a coach, your job is now like really to challenge it and to say, well, what about yourself? You said now, now, 3 times you said now. So what about now? What it is that you can do without no matter what is happening around yourself, what specific things should happen as soon as possible. So the energy of movement is here space for improvement.
somewhere else that I could go that I've not been before, because that's why I do it. So I haven't looked in I've got a book which is about wild swimming, so I could look in there and see where there are some more secluded beaches or areas that I could go and swim when I go away at Easter. So I could have a look in there. Yeah.
Okay. So our session definitely come to the end. So I just want to ask you, how will you keep yourself accountable to really stay committed to this?
I mean, it's a very nice question for accountability. Just there are no actions. I mean, they're not real actions, just concepts.
I feel like I need some sort of representation of, I'm quite a visual person. So I feel I need some sort of representation of what that future picture is, of that healthy me, maybe even 90-year-old me with my smile on my face.
So would it be useful maybe to send you these notes after the session?
Yeah, that'd be a really good idea. And I'm seeing kind of picking out some pictures actually and just making it like a little collage that I can see. And no one else will know what it is, but I will. Okay. And it'll keep me focused.
Okay, Claire. So we definitely come to the end of our session, and I just want to ask you, so what did you learn about yourself today?
I feel happier and lighter by the end of the session. It's like a little bubbling inside for just thinking about what that will be like, and recognizing that I can do those things now. I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait until the future to do them. I can make decisions now and make them happen. So and that feels empowering.
Oh, so who is Claire now with this empowerment?
Yeah, she feels quite empowered and confident to do that, confident to make it happen.
Okay, well, let me appreciate you for being open to explore this and become that empowered version of yourself. And it was really valuable learning for me as well. And thank you very much for sharing this with me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bojana. I'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Okay, so just to summarize, the session was really nice. So all elements were there. Like there was powerful questioning, coach presence, building rapport, partnering with the client, creating the experience. So all elements were really nice. The only thing that could be better here is designing action steps, because at the end of the session, what we stayed on for my feeling, for my taste, it was really a little bit abstract. So I would go into really specifics, and I would insist on that now. So what it is that now you can do about all these things, and then I would build the energy around that now, build a support system around that now, so that the energy of movement is there. As a client said, there was a lightness, there was inspiration, there was empowerment, and the only thing that it will be great to be there, like even better, would be more specific action steps. So I hope you enjoyed this session, and Bojana did a great job, and I will bring another session soon. Have a great day.